All right.
Okay, here's the
All
recording.
right. June 15th, 2019, we are at the end of sprint number 6. And today, yes, Maz will start the demo, followed by Alberto, and then Pavel. So, Maz, you can start.
Okay, so I'll go through step by step. There's, I don't know, 5 or 6 little things I'm going to show here. One, you can see that I'm using the all namespace now. This is what was added. Before we can only show a single namespace. Now we're showing all the namespaces. So here you can see I have one test mesh here, and here is the normal book info demo that we always show. So you can see if I go to book info, that's what we used to see, but now if I go to all, we can see everything. So that's the one thing. The second thing is we have this auto refresh, and the graph is getting refreshed, but we don't reset the pan, zoom, and selection anymore. So I'm going to move this around. Let's like zoom in here and say I'll select this node here, move it around. And if I refresh, you notice that the little spinner bar went off. We got that spinner bar up top here. And the screen, the graph didn't change pan or zoom. It stays fixed now where it was, and the selection stays as well. And the graphs just update. And the auto update here, I have it set to 1 minute. We can go down to 5 seconds if we want, or turn off auto refresh and just rely on manual refreshing. So as I'm going, you'll see it's set to 1 minute. You'll see the spinner go off every minute. That's what the auto refresh is doing. One very minor detail, but it was something that UXD mentioned, was our arrowheads are the same color as the line. The arrowheads used to always be black. Now we're all the same color. See red and red, green, green. So that was one thing. The other minor thing is that we have this loop back now. So I'll highlight that. We have the loop back. We didn't have this before. So if a service ends up somehow calling into itself, we'll visualize that with this circular connector. And I don't think we've shown animation last time because it came in late, but I'll quickly show you this. This is showing you our animation of speed, denotes the request times, and the amount of dots denotes throughput. And I don't know if you noticed, but you could see we've got the red dots going to indicate some of them are errors. One problem that we have, I do want to note, is if the lines are curved, our animation isn't exactly right. It's just going from endpoint to endpoint in a straight line. So if they're curved, it's not really following the line. So we should probably think about how we're going to correct that. But that's the animation. Well, I guess I should also show if I select a node, not only does it fix the highlighting of the neighborhood, but also the animation shuts off except for what I've highlighted. I don't know if someone's going to show about this orange. This just came in. I don't want to steal anybody's thunder, but the orange box and circle here just denotes health. You can see I had this error here. This edge here is having error. So the orange is just denoting health of these nodes. But I think somebody else might be talking about this later. And lastly, if I go to the detail charts, you can see our old metric charts here, but now we have an expand option. So if I click expand, it just makes the screen bigger so you can look at the data a little better. All right, that's all I got.
All right, thank you, Maz. Alberto, you next.
Okay, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, so this is the login page. Now we can authenticate with Kiali with a simple form and the Kiali social links. Oops. Okay, when we log in Kiali, we get the token, which is stored in Redux with Redux persist. This allows us to refresh the browser and open new tabs without losing the user session. One of improvements that we did in this sprint is the state of the service. If you click the service reviews, you can see here a tooltip with this deployment status. Now we don't have any pods, but if we go to the OpenShift and we scale up the deployments, you can see how the service start change. And this color will change when the error percent is lower than 10. Okay. Let's show the improvements in the service view. If we go to the service review, you can see that the list of pods has been reduced. Now we have a tooltip here to show all the replicas. And in the root rules tab, we have a bullet chart to show the weights. This way is for the version 2 and this one for the version 3. If we go to the OpenShift resources and change the YAML on the root rule, and we set 8% to the version 2. We'll see an error here because the weight zoom should be 100, and how the bullet chart is set the 100%. And if we click the reduce default title, we can go to the YAML view and we can see the issue. We can reach this view through the Istio config menu too. We can filter here for Istio type, root rule, and for config, not valid. Here we have a tooltip showing us the number of issues found. And if we click, we can see again the YAML. If we return to the OpenShift and we change the configuration and change the name, for example, we can see another kinds of issues. For example, here is Kiali is showing us that destination doesn't have a valid service, and that there is no post found with this selector for reduce bad. For example, if we set a wrong value for weight, we have another kind of error here. Okay. I'm going to redo all the changes. Okay. Another improvement that we did is another kind of validation. It's in the root rules. If we scale down a deployment, for example, the review 3, this takes a little time. Okay. You can see here that we have no pause in this selector. And we can see the error too in the YAML file. And this is all.
Thanks a lot, Alberto. That was cool. Pavel, are you ready?
Yes. Hi.
So you can share your screen.
I will share my screen. I assume you can see it. I will do a brief introduction into tracing in Istio. So basically, when you trace a service in Istio, you have to propagate tracing headers from inbound to outbound requests by yourself. So when you have a controller, you have to inject all the tracing headers, and when you create outbound request, you have to inject those headers into outbound request. But if imagine like your application is more complex, you create inside some threads, you have some business logic, and inside the business logic you are usually calling other services, right? So it's difficult to propagate those headers by yourself. So you can use actually tracing instrumentations to do it for you. We are using open tracing, so you can use, for example, we are using Spring Boot, you can use Spring Boot instrumentation that would automatically create or propagate those headers from inbound to outbound requests. But open tracing also provides other features. One of those is, for example, distributed context propagation. So you can propagate not only tracing headers, but also any additional metadata you would like to propagate from service to service. And this Istio tutorial, I will show Kiali console. They are doing one cool thing. They are deploying two recommendation services, one in version 1 and one in version 2. And based on the user agent header, they are defining a route which basically forwards all Safari users to recommendation service version 2, which is pretty cool, right? For the canary deployments, A/B testing. But the problem is that you have to propagate that header through all intermediate services like customer and preference. So what we did in this sprint, we allowed basically Jaeger with open tracing to propagate that header automatically in Istio. The problem was that in Istio is using two propagation formats. One is the B3 from Zipkin, which like uses these headers, and the other one is the context propagation from the Lightstep. The problem is that B3 wasn't defining the baggage, and it's the header which is used to propagate any additional metadata. So we added a baggage header to Jaeger clients. So when there is a baggage, it automatically adds it to the headers. I will show you some code of a microservice. So let's go back to Kiali. So this unknown is user browser. It calls the customer service, right? So you get the user agent in the customer service. So in the customer service, what you do, you have a controller, you have to inject the user agent, and then you just add it to the current active span, which basically represents the server request, the current server request. And then that this metadata is automatically added to any outbound request. So if you call the REST template, which is HTTP client, you are calling other service, it's automatically added to these requests. So it's propagated. Then the second service is a preference, and the preference, as you can see, I'm not doing anything. I'm not touching the user agent header, and it's automatically injected into this call, and it's also propagated to outbound call. So, but you can also do something like you can inject a tracer here. It's auto-wired. So you can have a tracer, and you can do something like tracer. I have to import it. So you can call active span, which represents the current active span for the current request, and you can get the baggage, and you can call, for example, user agent, and you can change your logic based on the baggage value, which is pretty cool, right? You would get it in any service which is instrumented with open tracing. So let's recap. We added the baggage in the customer service, then the user agent into the baggage, then the baggage is propagated to the preference and also to recommendation. Then you can define routing rule based on this baggage. It looks like baggage, user agent, and then the regex is Safari. We can try to create some requests. So at the moment, I didn't create the rule, so it should be using round robin, once to version 1, second time to version 2. Let's create a rule. Yeah, so we can also check the Kiali UI. Routing rule is there. Create some requests, and you can see version 1, version 2. Yeah, it's correct because we are not Safari user, right? So let's add a user agent Safari. Now I'm going to be redirected only to version 2. It's pretty simple, but it simplifies your business logic, so you don't have to do any manual propagation in your logic. This was everything for the routing rule. I would like to mention also one thing, and this customer service is a Spring Boot application. It's using the open tracing instrumentation, the open tracing Spring Cloud Starter. But we have also introduced the Jaeger starter, so you can just add one dependency, and that will automatically create Jaeger tracer and add also open tracing instrumentation on top of it. What is also nice about this Jaeger starter that you can use the application properties or application YAML and define the service name and all the tracing configuration directly in the Spring native configuration. It is not used here, but it's a nice feature, I think. Yeah, this is everything. Thank you.
All right, thanks. So I guess that ends the demo, unless someone has something else to show, which I guess not. Nothing. All right. So thanks everyone. I'm stopping the recording. It will be on YouTube if you want to share with friends. I'll send the link. Bye.